ALGS チャンピオンシップの4日目となりまして、Winners Round 1が始まります。It's penultimate day 4 here at the ALGS Championship. Yesterday, we saw multiple teams bite the dust in elimination round 1. 2日間の熱い試合が待ってますが、その前に伝説のシム、新しいチャンピオンズのパフォーマンスをしてくださることとなっています。ぜひお見逃しなく、シムのパフォーマンスをお楽しみください。So as the day begins to rumble, let's get into gear and break the walls of anticipation as we jump into action on day 4. But before that gets underway, let's welcome the legendary band Sim with their new performance, Champions.
We are the champions. We are the champions. We don't need to play another game. We'll be the champions. Sailing Sound of gunshots coming through a wall. I'm lonely deep inside. We're focusing on our roads. And no, it's not too late to take the first place. No way I take my own grave. Fine, we control the game. Time to change my fate. Get me represent your God. To taste your Let's go! Fire right devotion, violent emotion. La pa pa pa, la pa pa pa, rest in silence. Fire right devotion, with all my devotion. See you say oh hello. Pretty torn silence targeting me. I'm by myself, surrounded by enemies. But lose the game here in theory. But look at me, baby, I'm still full of energy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any ideas concrete? What's more, nowhere to retreat. Try to win, like we aim for. Not afraid to take my fate. Fire at devotion. Rest in silence. Fire my devotion. With all my devotion. Say oh hello. My ultimate is ready. Let the experiment begin. Take a deep breath. I'm over in the sky. Don't wake me up. Asking why I live in this nightmare. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up. Fire at devotion, violent emotion. La pa pa pa, la pa pa pa, rest in silence. Yeah, fire at devotion, with all my devotion. Say hello. Say hello. We are the champions. We are the champions. We don't need to play another game. We'll be the champions. Thank you.
皆様いかがでしょうか。皆様いかがでしょうか。すごいこと、かっこいいです。 こいいです。かっこよかったら大きな拍手お願いします。かっこいいです。とんでもないぐらい素晴らしい曲でございます。
ありがとうございます。
はい、そしてですね、札幌での ALGS チャンピオンシップのこの監修を目の前に APEX に参加されるになってどのようなお気持ちでしょうか。
いや本当いっぱい人が集まっててすごい楽しかったです。ありがとうございます本当に。はい。
So I asked him what it was like performing here in front of this amazing crowd, and he said it was absolutely amazing. He enjoyed every moment, and he's just really, really grateful to everyone. And on to my second question. You know, obviously it's amazing seeing him playing the showdown here yesterday, but then what is it like, you know, putting the mic down, not having his band behind him, but performing in front of this crowd? 昨日このステージで対戦されましたが、マイクではなくこの監修の前で APEX をプレイされていかがでしたか？
That was insane. Yeah. And in TDM, a team deathmatch, I was like, oh, I just got killed by Yuris. Oh, cool. So Yuris に殺されたってことがめっちゃ嬉しくて。
ね、面白かったですね。So there you have it. We replied to you in English. On to my third and final. Here we go. So, you guys have been together for 20 years. I'll run it in English first. And as a band, launched into stardom, of course, from one very famous song that you all know. バンドとして20年活動されていて、この曲で一躍有名になられましたが、どの曲をお話か分かりますか皆様？知ってると思いますよね。はい。チームのもう一曲お聴きになりたいお方がいらっしゃったら、盛大な拍手をお願いします。I know you guys want to hear another song from Sim. Let's get to it.
Okay, もう一曲やらせてもらいます。Next song is called The Rumbling. If I lose it all, slip and fall, will you laugh for me? If I lose it all, I If I lose it all, so let me fall. I'll never look away. If I lose it all, lose it all, lose it all. If I lose it all, I'm sorry, to die another day. I don't want anything, I'm just to play.
Absolutely phenomenal scenes here. Sim raising the roof, turning the dome into a stadium here at the Premise Dome in Sapporo. Amazing stuff. That brilliant song, Champions, and then topping it off with Rumbling. Phenomenal, phenomenal things here. Man, that was absolutely insane. Sapporo no minasama, ikaga deshita deshouka? Big thank you to Mahir and his band, all of them, Shohei, Sim, and of course Gori for their amazing performance. Big thank you, but let's jump on with the day and crack on with the action as the Apex Minds jump into the server to do battle.
If you thought you needed a bigger introduction, well, there it is. Japan's very own Sim, keeping Daiwa House alive and letting us know that the stakes are as high as ever as we enter into our winners bracket and our elimination round 2. After today, we will have our match point finals set with the teams who will compete for a championship. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If that wasn't hype, I don't know what else is. We're gonna have 10,000 people in here, and I'm so glad to welcome you back to the desk. My name is Rain Day. I'm joined today by Jamerson and Jayhawk, my boys in the J. Guys, I mean, Jamerson, is your neck okay? I saw you doing this a little bit more than usual.
I mean, you understand, like, I've always wanted to come to a music festival here in Japan, you know, Fuji Rock, Summer Sonic. I've always wanted to go to the Budokan, like, see a show here, and this is literally a dream come true to have Sim actually come out to this event, perform their special song for this one, and of course, the big one, Rumbling, coming out to open it all up. This is massive.
Unbelievable, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, AOT is my favorite show ever.
Yeah.
So getting to see them perform the Rumbling live, oh, that was so cool. That was so sick.
Almost nothing better. And one of the cool elements of this is Champions was made, and that first song actually in tandem with the storylines and elements of Apex Legends and this championship. It is the official anthem of the ALGS Year 4 Championship, and if you go to that QR code, open your phone right now, you can pre-save the song. It hasn't come out yet, but a big thank you to Sim. What an integration, and it just sets the stage for what we have done to prepare for this event. It's been months in the making, behind the scenes, the crew that has put this all together and integrated these special moments from music to performance, and obviously to fans. It is incredible. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes. And of course, Sapporo is on fire. It's crazy to say that when it's been snowing this morning. All right, let's go back into what's been happening in round 1. That is where we began yesterday and found out that there were some teams that were going to be going home and some teams that were going to find revival, Jamerson, especially Orglis and Hungary.
Yeah, in particular, Orglis and Hungary, because they had a great group stages when we were in Mannheim, Germany, right? But then they kind of disappeared here throughout the group stages.
Yes.
And it was kind of disappointing to see them here in the lower bracket, but they had a huge resurgence, 90-point day. It was massive for them.
I loved also the catalyst that was introduced through Kinda joining us on the desk. New metas potentially unfolding here as we get into the later stages of the bracket, but VK Gaming, another team yesterday, Jayhawk, that performed quite well.
Yeah, when you talk about new metas, they were playing the Valkyrie, and it was big for them. There was a lot of zones where they were coming from the far side of the edge of zone, but they were able to just wait as long as possible and hit a Valkyrie into the sky to come in late, and it absolutely did wonders for them.
This is an incredible, incredible moment for Team Burger 2, where just at the end, the very final moment of this game, they were able to inch past, I think it was Ninjas in Pajamas, and claim that final spot. It was heartbreak on one side, but it was pure elation on the side of our APAC South competitors. Sharky, our land winner with Reignite back when we were in Sweden a few years ago, so he'll have a chance to maybe get back on a championship path. Here is the winners round 1, however, because that has set the stage for the teams who will be playing later today in elimination round 2. they'll be weighting the 10 teams who are not in the top 10 of this bracket. And of course, that will mean that the 10 who do come out on top, whether it's Shopify, Falcons, Aurora, Noctum Alliance, they will be sitting pretty, waiting till Sunday, Jayhawk. They will secure their spot in our match point finals.
Absolutely, and I know, having talked to a lot of the coaches, the draft position is absolutely massive. You do not want to be falling, obviously, to the losers round 2 because you don't want to have to go and compete in it, but also you want to make sure you're as high up in that leaderboard when it comes to this lobby to get as high of a draft pick as you can.
We were talking about Don and his experience, right, with Fnatic coming in 3rd, but it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, Shopify lose that tiebreaker with Fnatic. Fnatic have the 2nd overall pick, Shopify in 3rd. All of a sudden, Fnatic takes a lightning rod 2nd. That's what Shopify wanted. And then the 2nd round, they take Overlook, which is also what Shopify wanted. So he felt like we got 3rd overall, and yet we didn't even get the POIs we wanted.
That's the problem, and that kind of makes it so that you want to have to understand every single point matters. 1 point was the difference in the group stage that changed that tiebreaker. Jamerson, what's going to be the difference for you? Who do you have your eyes on heading into today's matchup?
Yeah, so there's one team I'm actually really looking forward to. It's going to be Crazy Raccoons. We're seeing them get more and more aggressive as the weeks went on. But really, when we try and compare them to another team that is here and finding more success, it's going to be Fnatic. We're seeing Crazy Raccoons with the Zone 3, Zone 4 rotates. Has been going for a lot of these negative rotates to try and get up into the purples and the red armors. But it's been Fnatic across the week that have been doing a better job of it. When we take a look at their head-to-head, right, when they last kind of quote-unquote faced off against each other was, I believe, in the B versus D matchup, and they had a very similar performance. 52 points for Fnatic in that one, 46 for Crazy Raccoon in that one. And so here, now that we're in a very similar lobby to that one, I want to see what Crazy Raccoons might bring to in terms of adjustments to really try and match pace with Fnatic, because it's going to be very difficult to succeed with 2 teams being this aggressive. Only one can really come out on the top.
That's absolutely something that we're going to have to pay attention to. Crazy Raccoon to continue to be a team that you have to know are land winners, essentially 2 out of 3 of them, so can they keep up that pace?
Yeah, and the thing is, taking a look at how successful Fnatic have been on the other side of it, Crazy Raccoons haven't been able to replicate that. For Fnatic, they were able to get 7 games, top 5s, and convert 4 of those into wins. On the other side, for Crazy Raccoons, they've only gotten 3 top 5s out of their 18 games throughout the match stages, but they did at least convert one of those into a win.
Yeah, 2 major storylines. I mean, heading into both of those teams, Obley also had mentioned that there's an element of not being able to win in front of your home crowd. So being able to do that and do it now here in Japan, that would be massive, or at least in APAC North representing. I think, you know, Jayhawk, though, this doesn't stop our big focus, because there's so many teams in this winners bracket. Everyone here really has a storyline that we've been following all week. Absolutely.
Jamerson's talking about Fnatic, and I need to talk about the other team that absolutely popped up in the group stages, and we're going to go to EMEA to mention Alliance, the team who placed 1st overall. They, in the draft, I think they had a little bit of an interesting strategy. In the 1st round, they took SkyWest Trials, which has been their best map. But the interesting part is we're only playing 2 games on World's Edge. And so I was wondering what's going on there. And I think it maybe came back to bite them a little bit, because when we go over to their other maps on E-District, they're taking Shipyard Arcade. They have not played that this entire LAN so far. They have in scrims, but not at this LAN. And then on Stormpoint, unfortunately for them, they were taking Trident and hoping that no team would go to Northpad because they would run at them and try to kill them. Both Trident and Northpad were selected before Alliance was able to get to it, so they had to settle for Checkpoint, which I don't know if they have much experience with it, because they've always played out of Trident or Northpad. And so I do wonder, does that draft strategy maybe come back to bite them just a little bit? But on the other side of that coin, we do have another EMEA team that was going crazy 2 days ago.
That's right.
And that is Noctum.
Yes.
A little bit of a surprise, I think, for a lot of people. They did not make winners in Mannheim. They do this time, and in style, 5th overall in the groups. And mainly it comes from E-District. 48% of their points came from that map. And guess what? All of those points were from Draft Point, and they got it in the draft. And so they had 3 wins, Remix Powers, the highest score of any player on E-District. I'm looking for them to go absolutely huge on that map. Now, on Stormpoint, where we're also going to be playing 3 games, they did not do as good. Only 17% of their points coming from it. But their draft strategy was, we're going to take Stormpoint first to try and adjust for that. They get Cedo Station 5th overall. They didn't play out of that in the groups at all. They were always going cascades. z-o-o is a much better POI, a lot more loot. It's a little bit closer. We saw a lot of mill and bean zones, and so maybe if it continues to pull there, they're getting a little bit closer to those end zones. So I'm really thinking that Noctum, they're kind of a dark horse coming into this lobby because we saw them go crazy. They won 2 of their sets.
Unbelievable.
That's big time.
That's big time, and it shows decisiveness and the ability to capitalize on doing things well. That's kind of what surprised me so much about Noctum, and I think for a lot of fans watching at home, what's given us hope that this may not be a fluke. This could be something that continues on into winners. However, this is certainly going to be the set that is the most difficult. These teams have all performed well, and they have all had a day to prepare. Unlike eliminations that had to play the very next night, these teams had a very long time, even if they weren't happy with their ultimate picks, to come up with a strategy, Jamerson, on how they were going to dive into this. And of course, the most equipped probably with top-tier coaches, players, and consistency, of course, because they've gotten here.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about the teams that do have that kind of support staff, that have so many like analysts and coaches that can step in, and also just a lot of fans that can throw in their opinions here or there. But the problem is, I think for some of our teams that don't have that same kind of support staff, that it will become that much more difficult. I mean, we were talking about the intricacies of the map draft. I mean, we saw throughout the group stages that Alliance were really heavily focusing on no one really contesting them there on Stormpoint, that they were able to just get Trident or Northpad for free in their third pick. They can go ahead and focus on making sure that their first and second draft were on World's Edge and E District, but now it does come back to bite them. And so despite having all of the support, despite having all of this preparation, they're not ready for everything.
It's hard to be ready for everything. You do have to have some adaptation going on throughout the fray because things will be thrown at you. That is a battle royale. That is Apex Legends. 2 teams, though, that have gone through the muck and the mire to find themselves at the top of the ladder have really now found themselves now competing for what will be the ultimate storyline in North America as it stands when ALGS Year 4's championship is over. That's, of course, Shopify Rebellion and another team I'll mention in a moment. But let's focus on Shopify on my end, guys. That was a team that I thought was crazy for splitting up. Admittedly, Koifel, Zainu, they dropped Phony right after winning Split 2 in Mannheim. I had never seen it done, but it worked out for them. They felt comfortable with MT sliding in. MT obviously leaves Gil. That also helps with another team that you see now this cascade of opening players, opening opportunities to try to make these kind of trades and swaps mid-season before the biggest tournament and have it pay off. And for Shopify Rebellion, it certainly has. Thanks to this man in particular, the kill leader overall, Koifel, has been phenomenal. He leads the entire tournament, but he also has been the best player statistically on Stormpoint. It's only interesting to note because Stormpoint is one of those maps that we're going to be seeing 3 times today, unlike World's Edge where we'll only be seeing that twice. So that leans towards Shopify Rebellion and Koifel having a consistent run. Kind of jumped up in that kill leader race as well on Orglis and Hungry. They will be waiting to play in Elimination Round 2. Verholz will be playing here today, Sangjun as well, and so will Effect. So this race will adjust based on how they have played, but Koifel has been a star so far.
You have to remember that Kind is there with an 8-map lead.
That's right.
So
that's
Koifel
how different Koifel is.
Yeah, that's how much time Koifel actually had to grow that lead.
And one of the other things is you are seeing Koifel demonstrate the ability to find his rhythm so efficiently. And that's another thing we don't necessarily have stats for all the time. Luckily, we do here. It's efficiency. He's so good at getting those kills. Shopify Rebellion, whether they're winning or not, are going to be a very, very deadly team. But I want to shift my attention over to another team that we all have to speak about. It's, of course, none other than Falcons. They started this journey heading into this season, splitting up a huge dynasty, losing to APAC North's Crazy Raccoon, a reject Winity at that time, 2 of those 3 members in Los Angeles. That was a year ago, believe it or not. And that set off everything. Waltzy now joins, which was a roster of z-o-o, Jen Burton, and Imperial Hal, and changes things up with Moist. That obviously shifts its Timmy, and it makes this whole layered cascade of affecting changes that happen to our pro scene. And now it's do or die. This team has done everything. They have got all the resources possible and all of the experience possible. 2 of the most winning players in Apex history in z-o-o and, of course, in Hal. But can they get the job done? The thing that I find kind of interesting about is they've been playing well, guys, but they haven't been kind of highlighted in the same way because we're so used to them dominating. Doesn't, however, look statistically that they've been playing any worse than any other tournament that they've had. They've actually been excelling, and that's why they're here in winners.
Yeah, we got to see there on the camera screen that we had the split between their points, right? I believe it was 66 to 81 in terms of placement points to kill points, which really just means to me indicates that they're not converting more of their top fives, right?
Yeah.
If we actually take a look at their performance throughout the group stages, they had multiple top fives, but they weren't able to convert as many of them into wins. When you're in that position, every single position means, of course, more and more points.
Yeah.
I believe they had a number of top twos. There was one against GG where I felt like they should have been able to convert that. That's a 5-point swing the other way.
It is.
And if you take a look at the 5 points, that puts them very near to Shopify and Fnatic, who are at 160 throughout the group stages. Falcons ended up 147. So there were a lot of these positions where if the pendulum swung the other way, they could be in the top position themselves.
They're a team that's kind of like a group of chefs trying to figure out what is that perfect ingredient to actually finish our meal. They've had Walsey, they've had Jim Burton. Let's see if this is that dynamic combination that finally allows them to lift the trophy at the end of the year. It certainly would be redemptive for them and pretty cathartic given all that they've gone through and a lot of the fan pressure of not liking breaking up some of those epic rosters such as the old TSM. But the other thing to mention, Jayhawk, you and I were talking about really quickly, they are not great at E-District. They get most of their points off of World's Edge, and the fact is we're playing 3 maps of E-District and only 2 maps of World's Edge today. How's that going to play in your eyes to Falcons and obviously Shopify Rebellion going head-to-head?
Yeah, I mean, for Falcons, half of their points are coming from World's Edge. So for those 2 games, I think they need to go huge because with E-District, it's been a struggle. Only 16% of their points coming from that map. And so obviously there's room for a bounce back there. I mean, they had the day off yesterday, so maybe they go back, they watch the film with Privacy, he gives them some pointers, and maybe they improve. But if they don't, once again, World's Edge, those 2 games are absolutely crucial for them. On the flip side of the coin, Shopify, like you mentioned, they got a little bit lucky with this rotation here. World's Edge has been a struggle for them. Only 17% of their points coming on that map. And so the fact that the other 2 maps where a majority of their points are coming from are the ones where that's 6 of the games. That is massive for them. Like you said, Koifel, dominant on Stormpoint. They got Echo HQ. That's a POI that MT very familiar IGLing out of, so they can go big.
And interestingly enough, the best player on World's Edge statistically in terms of overall kills and placement from his team at 0 on Falcons. We'll see which clash ends up winning, a movable object or an impossible force, a movable object. Either way, unstoppable force, that's what it is, and a movable object. We'll see if one of these giants can claim victory. 10 teams will be moving on, and 10 teams will be dropping down. Let's check out our talent predictions and see who we thought was going to take advantage of this moment in Japan and claim victory. I think it could be a Falcons day. Dan is with me here. Alliance for Lauren, that makes all the sense in the world. Jayhawk going with the big win from Fnatic in the hometown crowd. That would be epic for sure.
I mean, this is the biggest audience we've had throughout the tournament so far. It's only going to get bigger tomorrow, but I really do think if they can just get some momentum, a big win, they're going to go crazy.
And of course, another Fnatic, Shopify Rebellion from Genome. Snipe is on the Falcons train, and Jamerson, you're running with Alliance, a team that absolutely deserves to be backed. They've already won a huge land. This could be their second and the biggest of the year.
Yeah, again, this was a very difficult group to call because of how close the top has been. Looking at the scores across the board, 162 for Alliance, only 2 points ahead of our next 2 teams in Fnatic and Shopify. But I think ultimately Alliance will have the edge out here.
One of the great things about it is we get to track Reddit as well. Alliance being the pick for our competitive Apex scene, and we'll wish you luck. I know these scores are pretty fun. It's almost time to get into business, but I want to make sure you know that you got your backs covered with Face It Watch. You have all the opportunities in the world to track these storylines the way that you want to, and I think that's the most important part, whether you want to watch Virtus Pro or you want to check in on Gaming Gladiators, because we didn't talk about them at the top of the show, and that's a team that should be talked about. Also a threat. Guild, Phony, what will he do? We talk Shopify, well, will he get redemption? What's going to happen? You can find out. Turn up or down that caster audio. We won't tell him, don't worry. You can watch the ALGS your way, and it's also on mobile as well. Go to faceit.com/watch. All right, guys. The mood is set, the stage is set. Sim just rocked the house, and the players behind us are ready to go. Winners bracket is sending 10 teams to match point finals on Sunday and 10 teams down to compete later tonight to keep their hopes alive. And with that, I know 2 people who are ready to get the action going. It's none other than Onset and Gaskin. Fellas, take it away.
Thank you so much. I am so hyped, man. What a start to the day, the Saturday that we were all hoping to see, and Sim absolutely smashing it on the main stage. You saw me rocking along, Dan. Is it a little bit embarrassing for you? I was getting into it.
Definitely not.
I was loving every moment.
I thought you were going to join it for 1 second.
I would love to.
You wouldn't have looked out of place.
Thank you, man. Let's talk about Apex, though, because we've got to talk about Apex, right? We've got to talk about what a massive, massive day this is in the context of who might be lifting that trophy come the end of tomorrow. That Championship Sunday, of course, is where everybody wants to be competing. And today, in this lobby, we get to send 10 of these teams through to that match point finals.
And we will be starting off on Storm Point 3 times, 3 in a row before we head to World's Edge for 2, and then E-District for 3. Of course, this is a topic of conversation. The POI draft, very important when there are 2 maps you're playing 3 times and 1 map you are only playing twice. Remember, I mentioned this in the elimination bracket. There were some questions raised about picks, but I think everyone in the winners bracket got this correct. The only team who didn't pick Storm Point first was Alliance. Their traditional strategy is to go for something on World's Edge and then go for Trident. Trident was taken by 100 Thieves, so they're having to play from checkpoint, so that's going to be interesting. But Fnatic and Shopify Rebellion playing out of Lightning Rod and Echo HQ. They are 2 of our best performing Storm Point teams so far this tournament, so we'll be keeping keen eyes on both of those squads.
Storm Point certainly has become Trident meta when we've spoken to a few players and coaches. Getting one of those Tridents is not just great for your rotates, but with the Sheilas that are knocking about on the map, you've got to have that cover as well, and that Trident certainly does provide that cover. Well, here we go then, everybody. This is match 1 of our Saturday in our winners bracket. 10 teams will go to the finals, and we are starting this one off on Storm Point.
8 matches, of course. It's going to be a bit of a slog, but if you can start off hot and get some big points on the board in game 1, going to do you wonders for your confidence. Is it going to be a team like Shopify Rebellion, Fnatic, Falcons, or will we see Noctum dominate yet again here today on Saturday? There's only one way to find out. We're into it here on Storm Point.
Well, it's so interesting to talk about, isn't it? We always kind of talked about how great EMEA have been so far in this tournament, but it's not really about how you start a tournament, Dan. We all know that. It's about how you finish. Peaking at the right time is so vital. And this team, well, they look dominant on day 1 and 2. Fnatic, every time we saw them on our screens, it was points, it was placement, it was everything you could have wanted.
Averaging 11.2 points on Storm Point every time we've seen them, only bettered by Shopify Rebellion. Now, Fnatic did outplay Shopify Rebellion by a tiebreaker, and their reward was this pick. They went for Lightning Rod, arguably what Shopify Rebellion wanted. Instead, now Shopify Rebellion will have to go for their second favorite pick, but they did pretty well in the group stages from where they were landing, so I don't think they'll be too disheartened down at Echo HQ, because they were averaging 30.2 points, and now when they see that, they will be even happier.
Well, that's where the zone is going to be going, down towards Echo HQ. Might pull up onto the hillside. Pylon going to be a good place to play from, and Complexity, we were speaking to Kim Chi, and he was saying, you know, they were very nervous at points during the run that they went on how close they were to being on the verge of not qualifying, having to go through that elimination bracket run, but they made it. And now that they're here, this kind of zone early on will certainly settle the nerves.
One thing to note, I'm not sure Shopify Rebellion have a ring console, just a survey beacon I can see down there. We do, though, see Complexity with the ring console at Pylon, so perhaps their movement down to the southeast is probably going to be enough of traffic for Shopify Rebellion to witness that and say, all right, we're probably going to stay here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Crazy Raccoon have one as well at Coastal Camp. So that kind of, like you say, the traffic movement, the flow of traffic, so to speak, is
and TSM.
A pretty good idea. Shopify Rebellion are about to be surrounded, but are they going to give up the #1 prio position within their POI because they don't have that info? We'll have to see. Certainly going to have a good place to play from. We'll have to see what the play is for them. This is them on our screens right now. Tried it in, I was going to say in hands, but more. The wheels are moving. Doesn't have wheels, Dan. It's hovering. I'm struggling. It's morning.
Now, Noctum are a very interesting team coming into winners bracket, and I think if they perform well today, if they do find themselves in that grand finals lobby, we need to follow their performance on E-District, but they need to be picking up points on the other maps. Yes, phenomenal on E-District, but you can't be a one-trick wonder, otherwise you might not find yourself in that winners lobby. But if they can get there, could be very intriguing.
Well, look at Team Liquid. Kurev, I think, just got the knock on to Leica. Yes, indeed. A top command. Looking down over that cliffside, just caught one player off guard, and now Fnatic are going to have to retreat. Maybe craft a banner over at Elrod, and maybe somewhere over at Stormcatcher. It looks like Stormcatcher might be the play for them to try and get that banner back in. So Liquid Alienware just kind of catching someone off guard. That can happen, right? First thing of the game, first game of the day. There's a sentence in there somewhere. You just get caught off guard a little bit, and that kind of thing can sometimes be a good thing. Just locks you in again. That little mistake, at least it's not a big one towards the end of a game.
But again, the benefit of the meta, you can run away, you can craft their banners, and that's what they're going to be doing. Now, Crazy Raccoon are going to be up above here. I think, is it Shopify Rebellion they might be up above? I'm struggling to see who they're actually going up against right now, but either way, whoever's below them could be in a sticky situation, but there's a lot of utility being used here. It is Shopify Rebellion.
Shopify Rebellion, who are kind of crouching and crawling and hoping that attack from the Newcastle is going to be enough to keep them alive. They do manage to survive, they do manage to reset and get those heals off, and now you can see they're running straight in front of them. So Crazy Raccoon are going to be playing this building. They will be set up for quite some time, and C9 having a little look at this one as well.
So interesting, we're seeing a kind of divide and conquer situation where half the teams have gone down towards coastal area and half of them have headed straight towards Echo HQ. Of course, sometimes you just take whatever is available to you, but the next zone shift is going to be one of the most important ones that we see so far on this map. There's a few teams that are just hovering within Pylon as well, just waiting for the inevitable and maybe waiting to hit a ring console if they can win it, as more Tridents start to turn up. Sorcerer says, hey, I've got this one just in case we need it.
Cloud9 are going to be in a good spot for the long game here. You can see that they do have ring console info. You can see that at the top left, the little green highlight of that zone. Elsewhere, teams who are taking a little bit of a longer route, who have got to traverse all the way across the map. You've got the likes of Fnatic, who we saw a little bit earlier, Furia, Liquid Alienware, Go Next, Enterforce 36, Alliance, Team Falcons, all yet to be inside of even that first zone. So they've got a little bit of work to do. So we see Cloud9 and Sorcerer with the R301, which is usually used if you can't find a scout.
Yeah, the scout has been the go-to weapon throughout this tournament. The most damage that's been laid out has been from the scout, but the most kills come from the Mastiff. Speaking of the Mastiff, it's going to do the final job to get ExoClan out of this lobby. 19 squads now remain, and it's going to be 100 Thieves playing from Trident, taking that point off of Alliance, and they have been able to start off hot here.
Yeah, done really well actually there to essentially wipe that fight very, very quickly, because this is just outside of Pylon. There's a couple of teams who are still within Pylon. You have Green Stego who are there, you've got Complexity who have moved a little bit south, more towards where the majority of this lobby finds themselves right now, but making sure that they didn't even give an opportunity for someone to think about thirding that fight. 100 Thieves has done a great job.
Furia didn't really get going on Storm Point throughout the group stages, but they do find themselves in this winners round, so they won't be too disheartened by that. And it's going to be a long old journey through Cascade Falls and then further down south. A team we haven't mentioned yet, by the way, TSM. Arguably one of our top 3 performers on Storm Point as well. They're going to be down on that southeast. Remember, they dropped over towards Devastated Coast and they moved very quickly to Echo HQ once they had that ring console information as well. I'm excited to see what TSM can do today, because I think coming into the tournament, my expectation was that they are one of the heavy hitters. They are one of those teams that could be winning this tournament, and they were quiet at times, but when they did find that little bit of something, and it was usually Storm Point, they really did look like a championship winning team.
Yeah, it's the TSM now that is talked about as a standalone TSM. The kind of the shadows and the ghosts of HAL are long past now, and this TSM team has shown that they can be potential tournament winners, as we do see that ring now slightly shift away from Echo HQ and more towards where Crazy Raccoon, Cloud9, Shopify Rebellion find themselves. So an interesting rotate going to have to be made. Complexity, by the way, playing right on top of that ridge of the hillside, near where those bins are going to be spawning some rock cover, a couple of trees, and they better be in a really good spot, not just to rotate in late, but also to deal damage to those teams who come through Pylon. So much elevation for them to play with. Speaking of elevation, Aurora, they're right up on top of Barometer, and Falcons are trying to pick them off, and it looks like Malty's going to get that first pick.
Aurora were another team who performed very well on Storm Point throughout the group stages. And it looks like their first game might not go to plan here, as Falcons looking to try and take advantage of this initial knock, and sadly for Aurora, I was going to say they might not be able to get away, but that's some great return fire. Sometimes you do have to shoot back just to stop the chase.
Al's got to be careful here, and it looks like Aurora will be able to get player back up, and now Falcons have got to be careful because there's a couple of teams who have heard this fighting going on and all of a sudden are going to have a little poke at this one. Noctum Esports now going to be mirroring the movement of Falcons, and I think that Falcons are aware of this. Or maybe they're not as aware as they thought, because those shots are going to hit Flesh. And Falcons are going to have to reposition here and try and escape. The problem is, wherever they go, there seems to be a team, because Alliance are pretty close to this as well.
I was just going to mention Alliance are on the other side, and Alliance are on the ring side of all this fighting, so they don't really need to engage, but they'll certainly be keeping an eye on it, just in case. Walty's taking a little bit too much there, but he should be able to get back up, but Aurora going to try and press this.
Pretty sure Z-o-o didn't have bubble, because he just used it a few seconds ago. That's why Kajak is being so aggressive on this. Flesh damage being done. And were they able to get Walty back up? That's the real question here. It looks like they should have been able to.
So a back and forth between Aurora and Falcons, both trying to demonstrate their strength in this early game.
Falcons are good.
Both teams get a knock onto each other, but neither can finish it off. And I think that really does sum up the meta at the moment as well. It is not easy to follow up on those knocks.
Well, inside of Pylon, we're going to see the teams who have got a scrap to leave, as we have seen that zone pulling down towards the south. Gaming Gladiator is going to be one of those teams. A great performance from them, of course, in the group stages. Showing that the Split 2 playoffs wasn't just a fluke that this team certainly has to be worried about when it comes to LAN. Now, this is the rotate that you've got to kind of worry about for TSM. They kind of banked on it going Echo HQ. VP are going to be holding them out, but this rotate up this hill, it's so tough to fight now.
Yeah, and even though they'd be safe where they currently find themselves, and they might be able to pick up kills on those that are behind them in Echo HQ, it's about where they go afterwards. But this is the fight they focus on for now. You can see Verholst trying to find a position to make Sheila work here. And if you don't want to give anyone Sheila, probably Verholst, arguably the biggest aim star we have in the league, and you give him a minigun, it's terrifying.
Give anyone a minigun, it's going to be tough. Apart from maybe me.
Oh, I've seen you hit some pretty good shots.
Thank you, man.
Especially on the main stage.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
How was it graceful?
Go and ask Graceful about it. Fnatic, though, they're playing under the bridge at the moment. They've got a couple of teams around them they're going to have to worry about, but here's Fnatic playing that bridge spot and trying to worry about the traffic that might be coming their way. Now, this is, again, another very tough rotate. They've got to deal with Go Next, who are in the egg building, and with the Trident, they're actually going to hard wrap zone here and try and enter from the very southern side. Noctum Esports have just been eliminated as we go back over to the action at Echo HQ. VP and TSM, this fight's been going on for quite some time, but it looks like both teams want to end this as Zap does some good entry damage.
Big bubble fight, it's a knock on either side, though it's a 2 versus 2, but
Big slam
will get a lot of damage, and now it's a 2v1. 1v1 now, Reps, can you do it? Yes, you can. Virtus Pro eliminated the triple take, finishing off the job.
Little flick from Reps, sticks his reticle straight onto the body of the last player. And TSM get back onto their feet as well. Back to Fnatic. We mentioned this huge wrap that they are currently doing. Well, this is the end of it.
TSM
Bubble goes
also
down.
Get a Mythic Bin, by the way. The reward for winning that fight, Mythic Bin's just spawned by Echo HQ, so that is going to do them wonders for their rotation. Now, Fnatic will hold this southeast side. And this is the same spot we saw Shopify Rebellion in a little bit earlier, and the nades helped them get up as well.
Bubble going to be expended as well from Shopify Rebellion, but an exchange of Gibraltar ultimates raining down from the sky means that this is going to be a little bit of a delayed move here from Fnatic, but they obviously want to try and move up onto that platform, try and scope the land in front of them a little bit more as to what their next play can be. Fnatic have done the job of pushing back SR, who of course don't want to give up the space that they are right now, but the most important thing for Shopify Rebellion is to keep the spot they want to play.
This is a tough fight as well. Outside Jurassic, just heading down towards Barometer. Green Stego versus Enter Force 36. A lot of damage has been done initially to Green Stego, and they are on the back foot here.
Missile Swarm's going to get the first knock. Aimbot's going to get that. Asia's going to slam. And now they look to go wham off the back of it. It's going to be Ely is the last player alive for Enter Force 36. He's trying to finish off this fight. Last player is going to be the Newcastle. Green Stego eliminated, and all might, he threaded the needle with that Peacekeeper.
That's the difference between a Peacekeeper and some Mozambiques. Now, Falcons, they made this rotation on the southwest, and now they're forcing their way into their zone, but they've lost Hal.
And it's Aurora who are on the other side of this once more. It looks like it might be in a position to think about trying to stick this res, because Aurora getting pressured from multiple different angles at the moment. Rain with that red armor, though, he's going to be very confident about looking to swing onto this one. And yes, indeed, it looks like Falcons have given up on Hal. He's going to be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, as they will retreat and try and play this one out as a duo. Aurora have been a real thorn in the side of Falcons in this game one.
Unlikely Falcon to be able to get that banner. Unlikely they'll be able to craft one as well, especially with how congested it is down here. I like what Falcons attempted, though. They tried to play through the zone, but sadly, again, it is Aurora who get in their way, like you said, a thorn in the side. Now, elsewhere, E36, after winning that engagement, are going to try and press up onto Complexity, the position you mentioned earlier as well. Complexity are wise to it. Or are they? Hold up.
Double swing. Good damage, but no knock. And when you commit that hard on the swing, you've got to make sure you get that first knock. It's a 2v2. Synap looking to stick the reds here. Scout shots, a little bit wild. Enemy's going to find one as well, and finally, well, they will win that fight. Complexity go down and enter Force 36. Now I'm going to worry about TSM, because here comes the Superman slam from Reps.
Reps lets his presence be known. E36 will scatter away, and they should be able to at least escape and play as a one for now. No, they will not. They will be eliminated. Crazy Raccoon clean up those pieces, but TSM came in at the perfect opportunity, and I think that was a real opening for TSM. Had we not seen that, they would have been held out by Complexity for quite some time. Speak of the devil, by the way, Falcons just respawned Hal. They were able to get that banner.
Back to everybody who's at Pylon. Kurev thinking about maybe counter-slamming that wall that is down. It's going to be Guild who's in front of them, and yes, indeed, there is the counter-slam. Q goes down as well, but Jaguares has already fallen. Kurev can't really do any damage whatsoever, and Guild look like they're making a really strong hold here, and yes, they will win that fight. Liquid Alienware will be eliminated, but here comes GG.
GG.